Welcome back to a bit gamey and the May update, or the second half. The first half I did earlier with the last two units of the 1 Hour Wargames unit list. I did a video on that because I was just pleased about getting that done. And this is the rest of the month. It's pretty much all. Well, no. In terms of the order, let's start from the beginning. In terms of the least useful thing that was done is another two bases of the French command. That figures that I bought when I was starting Napoleonics, and then I decided it was not going to work on my small table. So I had these command figures, and I just wanted to change them out and put one on a 6-figure basis. And so this is no use at all really in terms of what I'm actually playing as a game. But I just wanted to get them out of the way, get all those stray Napoleonic figures done and out of the way. But you know, I quite like them. I'm not. You know, these are all front rank and warlords figures, all metal, all suitably command base type. I wanted two on the French, on the basically on the French, but on the Napoleonic infantry battalions, because I'm OCD and I like the. I don't like having a command base not in the centre, and as the units are all even numbers, so I prefer it to have two half bases for the command, being in the front and the companies behind. That's why they got the pompons, the blue and orange ish. So yeah, I mean, I'm very torn based because on one hand, I like the Napoleonic uniforms. They're just very cool. So that's all great. But on the other hand, I hate having to paint them because they are so good. Or no, they are so varied. Lots of little details everywhere. So it's a love-hate thing, and on my my Napoleonics, I need the battalions to be bigger, basically. One, because the French attack columns are so iconic, and they don't look right to me unless they're in 36. So 6 bases of these. And secondly, what was the second reason? Oh yeah, well because there's too many. I really like the uniforms, and I can enjoy painting I can sort of enjoy painting them for a small number of figures. But when you want 24 or 36 figure battalions, it's too much for me. So these are, I don't know, I will eventually get a bigger table and then fill out these command bases with the actual battalions. But for now, they're being painted to go back in the box and forgotten about. So whatever. It's very much a 50-50 thing. I like them, but I'm not going to use them, or at least not yet. Second thing is that there's a pack of command figures, Austrian 7 Years War, that I got from Crusader, and these are 2 foot generals and 2 mounted ones. And I got some. I had 2 spares. I had 2 horses left over from the horses I got for the last French cavalry unit, and so I decided to put them on a base where they're like, you got the 2 horses that are tied up on the bush, and 2 generals are discussing whatever generals discuss. And again, it is another example of an issue I have with this stuff. Same with the these bases as well, actually, which is the the good thing about Napoleonics to me is the uniforms, and making them look good, all different colours and all this shit. And the downside is the wash, because when you put a wash on, it tends to dull it all down. And so I'm kind of so on the one hand, the washes make it look better in one way, particularly picking out the details and all that stuff. But for me, it's the colourfulness is the main appeal. So these obviously haven't been washed. Well, maybe not obvious, but they haven't been washed. And I like the brightness, even though it's not entirely realistic. And so I'm kind of stuck on that point. But yeah, I really like that, even though it's not washed and anything. I don't know. I'm not going to do it on the white uniformed Austrians, because they've got white uniforms and I don't want them to look all muddy. But yeah, so I'm pleased with that, even though I'm half not. I mean, the general thing, like, come on, I could have single officers, single generals for brigades, 2 for divisions, and 3 for corps or army. That's the general plan. And now I've got a divisional commander for the Austrian 7 Years War, even though that's not entirely what I was doing. But never mind. So that's them. Yeah, the main thing for doing the generals, even though the 1 Hour Wargames doesn't have generals, and I'll add them in my own rules, but it's they're just fun things to do. Command bases are just fun. Highly recommended. And the third thing, this is because I got some got the wrong horses for my for French cavalry for what was it? Yeah, the 1 Hour Wargames War of Spanish Succession project. I got the wrong horses, so I was looking through front rank for the right horses, for the right riders for the wrong horses, and I did it. I don't know how, but I did it wrong again. And so a lot of these, they don't actually sit. The saddles don't sit properly. But do I care? No. I'm not gonna try and get new ones again. And again, these are a perfect example of what I like about Napoleonics and what I don't. So I haven't done it all. I've left off. There's meant to be, for the Hussar uniforms. There's meant to be red on that front piece of their of the uniform. Police. I think it might be called police. I have the word police in my head, but I can't remember if it's the right one. But yeah, so these are not well painted, but they are painted. And the thing about the Napoleonic uniforms is the colours can make up a bit for being not well painted. These I bought Austrian Hussars because they're supposed to be right for the horses, and only afterwards I go looking for uniform details for Austrian Hussars, and I'm going to show a thing in a minute about that. But when you do go looking and you find all the pictures of the different uniform types for all the different regiments, I mean, it's just great. There's so many interesting combinations of cool uniforms. Basically, in the War of Spanish Succession, a lot of the uniforms are a bit basically undyed wool, and all the factions have got similar uniforms with different colour facings and such. But then as you go into into the 7 Years War and then onto the Napoleonic War, the uniforms just get crazy good. They're just all the different combinations are just brilliant. And so so I just picked this battalion up, or this battalion uniform up, because I liked it. I've got the name now. I think it's Natanry or something like that. I'll check in a minute. Green on the top, blue trousers, red little bits here and there. There's a lot more little bits of red should be painted on, but I didn't do it because I mean, you can probably do it doing dry brushing on the using dry brushing on the front of the stuff, but that's my issue. I'm not a good enough painter. I'm not a good enough painter to do it perfectly, but the kind of the colours of the uniform make it okay not doing it perfectly to my level, because they're just cool on their own. So even doing it imperfectly is you still end up with a nice unit. Because I like these figures. I mean, I like the figures and I like how they look, even though it's not quite it's not right in loads of different ways. What's the other point? Oh yeah, and these figures are a good indication of my problem with washes, in that when they're base painted, they look great. They're very colourful and looks better really, or looks better to me. But once you put the wash on it, they'll get a bit dark and grimy. And I went over them a little bit again with highlighting, but they still look a bit grubby. So on one level that's good because they look more realistic, but for me personally, it's they look better when they were sparkly and new and shiny. The flag comes from GMB, I think. Yeah, GMB. I mostly don't get the cavalry flags because they're these odd shapes mostly. But I did this time, kind of by accident, but an okay accident. I mean, it's a good flag. It's nice. My issue with it is one, it's more knobbly. I don't know what to call it, but you got all the various things you've got to cut out. I did it. I think I did it a bit wrong. In that, I think maybe it's better to cut out the rectangular shape before you glue it on, then glue it on in the rectangle, and then and then cut out the extra pieces afterwards. I mean, I can't say that for sure because I haven't tried it. This is the first time I've ever done a cavalry standard, but it was quite difficult to get the sides to match up, and so I'm thinking maybe I should have done it in a rectangle and then cut the pieces out after it was on the standard poles. Oh yeah, the other thing about it is another issue is it's not actually the right flag for the right battalion. It's almost right in that it's the actual battalion has a green flag, and one item, I think I don't know what that is. I think it's the Virgin Mary. I'm not entirely sure, but there's one half of the flag was correct for this battalion. The flag is for something like Natasny, and the uniform is for something called Tanri or something. So it's not quite the right flag, although it's similar. And so I'm being, but that's really just a warning for if you're looking at sites and you're picking a uniform, then you want to double check that there's a flag for it somewhere, because there's lots of Hussar battalions or Austrian Hussar battalions in the 7 Years War, and they don't all have, or they all had flags, but they don't all have flags that you can buy. So I mean, it's okay because I got one that was close enough, and I'm not planning on getting more Austrian Hussars. I mean, it could be quite fun. You could actually do an Austrian army with loads of Hussars, because there's plenty of uniform models. But I say, if you're going to do anything to do with the this era, you want to double check that you can get the flag you want for the uniform you want. Is that it? I think that's it. Yeah, so where are we? So that was that. I'm kind of pleased. I'm mostly pleased about clearing out the various figures that I had, because you know, these technically aren't any use. This isn't really any use at the moment, and these are, well, they're extra to what I needed for the 1 hour war games, but they're a good start on getting extra cavalry figures for the cavalry battle in my Ramillies project. But in terms of clearing out figures, it's pretty good. Yeah, so next I was going to do show a thing on online, and then I'll about the uniforms, and then I'll do what I got next. And a couple of thoughts on the uniform stuff. As I say, the War of Spanish Succession is like verging on dull in terms of the uniforms, because a lot of countries use the same undyed wool, and so you can get these armies with grey to white uniforms, and it's just the facings that differ, and that's kind of dull. But at the same time, the War of Spanish Succession has I'd say really cool flags. I mean, to me, that I just like the flags. For example, this is the French from Flags of War, and this is, they've got these regiments that are based on particular regions of France. Regiment d'Artois, Regiment d'Anjou, Regiment I can't say it, or whatever it is, Regiment de Beauvoisis, Regiment de blah blah. They're all very distinctive, but they follow the same pattern because they're for the same country, but they're just very distinctive. That's the French, and 1700 Dutch. So there's a Dutch. I mean, I'd say they're more distinctive at this period in the early stage of the 1700s than they are later on, because later on, when they get to the Napoleonic period, they're more dull. So like the French, I can't remember, I'll just pick one. They're all the same basically. They're the same flag with different numbers. So over the course of the 18th century, which is the Horse Musket period, it seems to me, I may be wrong about this, but it just does seem to me that the way it works is that the uniforms start fairly dull, but the flags are really cool. And then over the course of the century, the flags get more dull, and the uniforms get better. And that seems to be a general pattern. I mean, there's probably exceptions to that, but I'm working on that basis. And so that's the flags. So the earlier flags are more distinctive to me, whereas the later flags are more uniform. But at the same time, so this I'll put a link to this site, crowscaff.com, whatever, which is a site to do the 7 Years War. And just picking one of them, Hussars. So the page for Hussars, it's it's not any bigger. But anyway, it's just as an example of the uniforms. This is just the Hussars of just one faction in the war. You know, you got this one that's all in blue. This one is in green and light blue and red, dark blue and red. You know what I mean? It's well, I don't know what how to call it. I mean, to me, it's just great fun. Basically, you look at these, you know, each regiment with their own sort of unique little where's it gone? With its own unique style of uniform. You know, it's yeah, and you can scroll through this kind of page with all the uniforms on, and you know, and it's just, I mean, it makes me want to just do lots of Austrian Hussars, just because they're just so distinctive and so cool looking. You know, I'm not going to. It's going to avoid it completely, because you know I don't want to be painting loads of Austrian Hussars. But if I was doing a game, you know, where I was like actually doing it for real, like, you know, you pick a particular campaign or a particular battle, and you do the units that were there, and you had a giant sized Austrian army with full of Hussars. I mean, you wouldn't get bored. That's my point. You know, you wouldn't get bored of it. It's this is the regiment I did. I think, is that right? Yeah, that's, you know, with the green and the blue trousers. What's it called? It's a Baranier Hussars. So, like I say, I mean, the thing about, I'm just using this as an example of the Austrian Hussars, but you know, the further you go on in history, you know, the 7 Years War, and then on to the Napoleonic War, the uniforms just get so cool. I mean, it's just, you know, from a painting point of view, they're just, you know, what can you say? They're just great. I think that Nadazdi one is the one that I got the flag for. So I got the whatever the other name I used, Naranyi or something. Yeah, that's an important point to mention is going through, you know, sites like this and picking out a uniform you like. You want to double check with the officers in there. But yeah, you want to double check that a flag exists for that faction, because often they don't. You know, you might pick out your favourite unit to paint, and then you realise there isn't a flag for it. But I'd say it's just I don't know what you can say. It's just so great. The uniforms are just so great. I mean, in the 7 Years War and later into the Napoleonic War, the uniforms just get, you know, brilliant, and you can have so much fun. Just, you know, just from the painting point of view, there's such a wide range, and I say this is just one nation and just one branch. You know, the Hussars. I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's just really cool. From the painting point of view. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the uniforms get better the further along the 18th century you go, but at the same time the flags get worse, because they become basically just all the same. You know, it's like the British ones have become. British comes, almost all, just Union Jacks. I mean, there are some exceptions and stuff, but you know, it's not as good as the earlier ones. The earlier ones are much more kind of unique isn't the right word. They're more expressive, of more singular. They're more singular. I mean, there's still, similarities in it, but say the French ones, and also you can you can pick the ones that were best, like the ones in the for the War of Spanish Succession. If they were the best in that century, then you know, I'm going to use them. And if the ones in the War of the Austrian Succession were the best for a particular faction, then I'll use them instead. So, I mean, that's the deal. You pick the best flag. You pick the best flag from all the wars over that century, and the best uniforms. And even if they're the wrong war or the wrong period, and just do it that way. So I got well, it doesn't matter now. But yes, so the general point I'm making is use the best uniform from that century and the best flag from that century, even if they're not the right ones, or rather from the right era. They might be, you might pick the uniform for the buffs and the flag for the buffs, or the uniform for the buffs in one part from, like, I don't know, 1760 or whatever, and pick a flag from 1705. That's basically what I'm saying. That it makes it more fun to me. Yeah, so anyway, this site, Chronoscaff, it's great. It's got loads of pictures. I mean, yeah, I don't know, you probably feel you should buy some books. And, that's probably a good idea. But, if you haven't got the books yet, and if you're going to buy some over time, I'll probably buy some over time. Then, Chronoscaff, I'll put a link down in the thing, but it's a great resource. And say that's the first point. And the second point is and the second point is, mix and match the flags with the regiments. Yeah, a lot. That's not really a thing. But see, this is the thing, because a lot of uniforms at the time are basically undyed wool, so they're like grey, and it's just the facings. And on the battlefield, that gets a bit it gets a bit done, and also I kind of you get mixed up with what's what, and which unit is which. So yeah, I would suggest this is, I wouldn't even suggest it really, because there's a reason for being going for historical. But for me, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick the best uniform from that entire century, and pick the best flag for that entire century, of the same unit, but of different times. And that's how I'll do it. Yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody else, but it appeals to me. So what's next? It's clearing out the last of all these excess figures. So I had 8 Russian Napoleonics. I don't know why. I got them by accident, I think. But instead of selling or binning them, I decided I was going to make a Russian Napoleonic regiment instead. So I've got a couple more sprues in the sale, and some command figures from somewhere. I think it's either front rank or warlord. I don't know where. But very nice. It's almost entirely pointless in that doing a Napoleonic army for or doing Napoleonic figures when I'm not 36 figure or 24 figure Napoleonic units. I'm not going to be using them unless at some point in the future when I get a bigger table. So it's totally pointless, except I'm doing it anyway because for OCD reasons. And secondly, in terms of using everything up, it says 24 Russians for a battalion of Russians, Napoleonics, and I've got so I bought these Austrian generals pack. We had 2 foot figures which I've done, and these 2 cavalry figures, and so what am I going to do with that? Yeah, so yes. So there's this figure here, which I got with the black powder. Very cool Highlander. But I'm not going to get a whole battalion of Highlanders to use that up. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm taking take one of these Austrian 7 Years War figures, mounted ones, and paint them in a British uniform, and have him as a second one. That'll be the divisional command base for British. I guess those done, and the other, again, it's actually Austrian 7 Years War uniform, but I'm guessing the officers will tend to dress in all sorts of weird ways. So I'm going to paint him up as a Dutch brigade general. So that'll be that one out of the way. These are the last 4 of the French command figures that I bought by not by mistake. It's for an idea that didn't work out because the numbers. So there's there were 4 figures for French command bases, for the last French command bases. So I need to buy the other 8, but I'm not going. I'm just going to paint these up first and get the other 8 later. So that's them. So, and that's the end of all my Napoleonic figures. And lastly, although I've got the right number of battalions for the 1 hour war games set of rules, because I'm OCD, and because the warlord flags that come with the Marlborough boxes, you get 5 flags, and they're good because they give you a variety of units of the time. But the British ones got they got 3 British, 1 Dutch, and 1 Prussian, I think. And because I like the way it works, I'm going to do I'm going to make some more what do you call it? I don't know. They're more national brigades rather than random collection. So they're going to have a British brigade which has got 3 British units, and I have a Prussian for now, but who knows what eventually. So basically, is a third British battalion for the British brigade, and a 3rd French battalion for the French brigade. So the French brigade will be 3 French and 1 Irish, and the British will be 3 British and 1. I'm probably going to change it to Hessian now. There's no good reason to, but it's just an iconic thing. Yes, so this is 2 extra. Well, no, more than that actually. It's because I got a load of these Marlborian figures left over. Because I bought enough for 12 battalions, 6 British and Allies, and 6 French and Allies. But because I was using these metal figures, adding metal figures to the battalions, I ended up with I don't know, 24 or something left over. And so and because the general gist of what I've been using is I was using 6 for the ones that get the casualty figures that can be pulled out, and 6 metal figures for the rest. So I've got a bunch of these Marlborian figures left, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 1 British, 1 French, and 2 Dutch, and 1 Danish. And that's going to be my 3 brigades. Plus, I'm going to have some German, Bavarian, and Prussian left over. So I think so I'm basically going to end up. I think in the long run, this is not a project per se. It's just a long project of having 3 brigades or 4 battalions each, but of different nationalities. So there'll be a British brigade, a Dutch brigade, a French brigade, and I don't know what Austrian brigades. Yeah, and so it's all jumbled up. They'll all be from the whole kind of horse and musket period rather than for a specific war. But then I'll just change the rules for the specific period. So anyway, blah blah blah. That's the gist. I've got the last few scrags of Napoleonic figures to finish off, and a whole bunch, a bunch of replacement Marlburian battalions, which is I think I'm trying to avoid getting any new figures. So I need 5 for these, but I'm still trying to avoid getting any new figures. But that's the plan. Finish off all the Napoleonics, and start replacing the 1 Hour Wargames unit list to suit my OCD brain. Because what I should be doing is extending the original War of Spanish Succession list to fit in some unit types that aren't in the 1 Hour Wargames rules, or they are. Or that. I want a mounted dragoon and dismounted dragoon for each side, and 2 light infantry units for each side. So that's what I should be doing, but instead I'm doing this. But yeah, tidying up really. Yes, that's about it. And lastly, because I've been trying to avoid buying any figures, I decided on testing out a bunch of things. I've been buying flock for the bases, and I kind of had decided, when people talked about flock and scatter, I tended to think that they were talking about the same thing. But so what I did, I recently found out that the flock is the kind of it's that kind of nylon-y grass type stuff, and scatter is it's basically sawdust, dyed sawdust. So I tried to get a whole bunch of different packs from different sources just to see what they were like, the quantities and the price and all this. So I've got another Geek Gaming Scenics called Forest Ground Cover, which looks very appropriate, and then a whole bunch of these things. These scatter. This one's Javis Spring Mixture. It's called Bosch Micro Flocage. That's I forget what that one is. I think it's meant to be summer grass. And 2 of these ones from Warlord, which were army painter apparently. Brown Battleground. That's kind of like stuff you put on the bottom for a texture. And Battle for Grass Green. So these ones, the 2 army painter ones, are probably the least cost effective on one level. In that I think you get more in the other boxes, but you do get a nice little box. So if you include the box as part of the deal, then I'd say they're all about the same. I mean, I didn't check properly, but they're all about the same. So this is my future basing. Not really yet, because I'm still using the flock on the bases that I've got so far. But anyway, a lot of experiments ongoing for that stuff. And I also got another one, which was supposed to be autumn green, and I think I got the wrong. I don't know, I assume I got the wrong one. But I'll put some bits in there as well. But it's this kind of bright green thing. So am I pleased with that? Not really. I mean, I can see me using it for some of the more fancy figures, like lizard men or something like that, or anything from a swamp. So it's okay. I don't regret buying it, but it was a little bit of a shock. Was there anything else? No, that's basically it. Lots of stuff for bases which appeals to me because the flock stuff, because it's kind of nylon-y or whatever. It's it tends to clump up in annoying ways, which I don't like. So I'm going to see if all this sawdust scatter is better. Is that it? I think that's it. Okay, look. To the pip.